to the April 11th meeting of the Historical Preservation Commission. My name is Edmund Cherneski and I am chair of the commission this year. Other commission members in physical attendance are Vice Chair Liam Reardon, Member Anne-Marie Quinn, and Member Nate King. And remotely, we have Peter Keebler. And I think he's the only member that is remotely attending this time. Additionally, we have from the planning office, Brian Scannell and Ann Krieg. And then the most important person in the room, our esteemed consultant, Mike Foley.
Wow. Can't live up to that.
You can, because you always have.
That's right.
Some information before we get started on our agenda. If all regular members are in attendance, which we are, I think. Associate members participate in the meeting but do not vote on motions. If any regular members are absent, associate members will vote, such as if there were a total of 5 votes for any motion. So Peter, we will be relying on you for your vote this evening.
Excellent.
The Historic Preservation Commission has 2 roles. First, we serve as the Bangor Center Revitalization Area Design Review Committee, designated under Section 71 of the city ordinances, which covers review issues in the downtown and waterfront areas of Bangor. Second, the commission has several responsibilities under the Historic Preservation section of city ordinances, which is Section 148, including issuing certificates of appropriateness for construction of or changes to buildings within the city's designated historic districts. Depending on its location, we may need to review a proposal under design review criteria, the historic preservation criteria, or both. 5 commission members may vote. A design review application must receive 3 affirmative votes to be approved, and historic preservation or certificate of appropriateness issuances must get 4 affirmative votes to be approved. In the order of the meeting, I will call the applicants in the order that they appear on the agenda. When I call your project, I will ask you to present your application from the podium. Once you have made your presentation, I will ask for the consultant's report, then questions from commission members, and third, any questions or comments from the audience. When questions are completed, the commission will have a discussion of the proposal and the standards of review under which the proposal is being considered. When discussion is complete, the commission will take action on the proposal to approve, deny, or otherwise handle it. For approval of a proposal evaluated under both design review and historic preservation, the commission will make separate motions related to each type of review. It will then ask for commission members' votes. 3 final comments for applicants before the Historical Preservation Commission. If it looks as if your project will not be approved, you may choose to withdraw your application, amend it, and then resubmit your application for a future meeting. If you disagree with the decision of the commission regarding your project, you have the right to appeal the decision to the Board of Appeals. And all projects need to be started within 6 months and completed within a year. Otherwise, a new application to the commission will need to be made and approved prior to starting your project. Excuse me. So, first on the agenda, we have a certificate of appropriateness for 98 Cumberland Street.
Good evening, my name is Dan Wellington. I live at 79 Fairways here in Bangor, and I am the president of Bangor Halfway House Incorporated. Bangor Halfway House Incorporated has owned 98 Cumberland Street for over half a century now, hard to believe. What we do is different from what we originally did. Back in the day, Bangor Halfway House provided substance use counseling and owned several properties. Because of funding issues and grant opportunities about 30 years ago, and a lot of this is lost to history now, so this is history as I know it. About 30 years ago, funding opportunities of reimbursement rates and grant opportunities for substance use reached the point where it did not look good if you had a lot of assets. So Wellspring was created. So you may hear this property referred to as Wellspring's Men's House. It is Wellspring's Men's House. Bangor Halfway House got out of the clinical work, turned that over to Wellspring, and we exist now for the sole purpose, excuse me, for the sole purpose of being landlord. We own or control a number of properties. We exist for the sole purpose of providing Wellspring with space. They're our only tenant, and we are their only landlord. No, we are not their only landlord, excuse me. They have another landlord now in the private sector. 98 Cumberland Street Great building, interesting history. It's been everything from a residence. We believe it was used as a funeral home at one time. And Bangor Halfway House, pardon me, Bangor Halfway House purchased it from a Husson College fraternity. It was the Sigma Chi House before they moved out to the new campus. But we've had it for 50 years. We're here tonight to request permission to replace 5 attic windows. The attic space is semi-finished, but it hasn't been used for 50 years plus for anything but storage. We think that the fraternity may have had some of the brothers living up there, but it's otherwise just been storage. These 5 windows are beyond repair. We had damage to 2 during the storms this winter. You have before you the request that we have, which is to use Marvin windows from their Ultimate collection. I think at least their sales rep tells me that you are familiar with that particular, okay.
It's a very good window.
The ones that we have spec'd out and are bringing before you tonight are wood windows with simulated divided light. So, and they're also metal clad. The reason that we're going in that direction, especially the metal clad, that's an extremely corrosive environment up there. We get a lot of acid rain up in this part of the country now. In fact, our rain, this is from my graduate school days, the rain here in Maine is 1 number lower on the pH scale than it was in World War II, which means that our rain is 100 times more acidic than it was in World War II. Couple that with 10,000 cars a day going by on Broadway and another 800 going by on Cumberland Street. We're already seeing a little bit of damage to the paint job that we did 2 years ago in the form of pitting. It's a very corrosive environment. So metal clad windows, simulated divided light. You have drawings in your packets that show precisely what the window layout is. They pretty much replicated what was already there. I think that's all I've got to say, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for the applicant at this time? All right, Mike, we'll move to your report.
Thank you, Dan. I don't know what commissioners remember when 98 Cumberland was in front of us last time. As Dan mentioned, was to change the block siding. If you look at the photographs that the applicant gave us, which were very good, you see that block siding, and some of it had to be replaced and some of it was retained. But that's a really critical aspect and feature, character defining feature of this building. And the other thing that's character defining are these archtop windows. The archtop windows, especially with the bell dormer in the front, is kind of a signature piece of work by Benjamin Dean. Benjamin Dean was the architect for this, very talented local architect. And I'll just read briefly the history that we have, the architectural history on the David Fuller House, which is what this is. It was built in 1869, has blockwork siding and paired round-headed windows over the portico and its garret ends, the gable ends. The windows of this house have exceptionally handsome drip moldings. That's what you see in the photographs underneath the projected sills. The exterior of the house, which now serves as a halfway house for a covered outhouse, has been well restored by its residents. That was Deborah Thompson's, from Deborah Thompson's book on Bangor's architectural history in 1988. So, thank you, Dan. That was very complete. I thought the application was very complete, I would say. I had a couple of points that I wanted to make sure the commission considered. There was quite a bit in the package that was presented to you that you don't need to be concerned about. That was about casement windows and awning and gliding windows. These are double hung windows you're talking about. It means the bottom and the top sash both operate. So we're clear about that. The applicant's proposing to install 5 Marvin Ultimate G2 round top, double top windows. These are custom made windows for this application to fit the opening. So their ultimate, what Marvin's ultimate line means is that they're built a little bit more sturdy than even their typical double hung windows would be. They're usually for very large windows. These are not necessarily large windows, but to get an ultimate window, as you saw the budget in here, they're fairly expensive. I wanted the commission to be aware that there was cladding on the outside. This is all clad in an aluminum skin, heavy aluminum. It's painted white, so they'll arrive painted white on the outside. I think the inside is the wood that's painted white as well. But that really does preserve these for a good long time. They're not going to go away. The grills that are proposed are the narrowest ones that are made by Marvin. Those are 5/8 of an inch wide, if you can picture what that looks like. If you look at the photographs, that's pretty close to what you're seeing there. It might be a little bit less than that, but nobody seems to be making anything less than 5/8. I wanted to confirm that these are simulated divided lights with the spacer bar between them.
That is correct.
Okay, that's the black spacer bar. So it'll look like they're true divided lights, just the way they look today. I wanted to confirm that the glass exposures will match those existing. Dan, do you know? I mean, one of the concerns that the commission has when they review windows is to make sure that the sashes are not going to be made so wide that the glass area gets reduced.
No, the glass area is very, very
I
close to.
would think it's almost verbatim.
Yes.
So, okay, that's good to know. And I wanted to confirm for the commission that the existing exterior trim casings, which are really beautifully profiled, are going to remain unaltered.
They are going to remain unaltered, yes.
That's critical, because that, again, as you look at these photographs of this building, that is what your eye is drawn to, is the beautiful detailing and the moldings. That's all I had. Good question. Thanks, Dan.
Well, commission members, Peter or Rebecca, I see you've joined us, so Peter, you don't get to vote after all.
But he can be involved in the
But
conversation.
of course you can be involved in the conversation. Do either of you have any questions for the applicant or for Mike?
I do not.
Liam?
I mean, I'll just say it's a spectacular building, and we're really happy that you're replacing those windows with such nice match of what was there before. It goes a long way to keeping the historic character of the house, so.
We believe that the storm windows that were put on at some date have bought us some time, the lower two floors, the habited floors, but, you know, typical of, those are gonna run out of life, but we think we bought some time with those storm windows. We don't even know when those were put in.
Anne Marie or Nate?
Dan, it's wonderful what you've been able to do with that house. That was such a worrisome thing for us the last time we dealt with it, and there were so many problems, but congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. It's always a question of money.
Yeah, I know.
We are putting in new kitchens in both the men's and the women's house this year.
Oh, wow.
And Pat and I have already started conversations. We'll probably be back to see you folks next year. The handicap ramp that services 98 Cumberland Street is about at the end of its life. We've got a couple of ideas for that, so that's our next project.
Well, thank you.
So make a motion that we approve the certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of 5 attic windows at 98 Cumberland Street.
Second?
Is there anyone publicly to comment? I know there's no one in the room unless you wish to speak. Okay. So we have a second for the motion to issue the certificate of appropriateness. For simplicity, we'll just proceed down the line from a voting perspective. Yes. Anne Marie?
Yes.
Liam?
Yes?
Rebecca?
Yes.
And unnecessarily, but I will also vote yes, so motion passes.
How strenuous are you on the 6 months to start? Because I'm worried about supply chain issues, Mike.
Don't start with that.
We will be placing the order probably tomorrow or Monday.
Maybe it takes months for them to be fabricated.
I know.
I don't know, that's a question for the
Yeah.
code office.
Yeah, just keep in contact with us and planning
Okay.
and code,
Yeah.
and we'll work with you on those deadlines.
Building permit and certificate of occupancy has been applied for already for this project.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good job, thank you.
In other business, we have something concerning the Hasties Main Stages building.
Yes, do you want me to approach or am I?
By all means, whatever you are most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Hi, Howard.
Brian Scannell, Ohio Street City Staff. So I'm all 3 points in a row, so I'll hit you with all of those. So the first one is Hazy's Main Stage Building on 490 Broadway. So for that one, the office received notice that this property had been approved for national designation, and we really wanted to bring it to you guys to hear your thoughts about local designation, because right now it's nationally designated, but not locally. And there are certain incentives that would make the applicant potentially want that local designation as well. But also, as the commission, we would want to make you aware and would love to hear your opinions on this process. So, yes, so this property was submitted, it is a local architect, it's Paul Atwood, and it was approved under 2 criteria. Criteria A, which is for
Architecture.
property being associated with a significant contribution to the broad patterns of history, and also C, which is embodying the distinctive characters of a time period. So this property is a bus garage, yes. And the period of usage was the 1940s, 1950s area. This is an example of streamlined modern architecture. So that's it's the Deco-esque sleek look that you're seeing around the war time. So there's that.
This is the building opposite Circle K next to Tri-City.
This is
Yes.
on Broadway and Earl.
Right,
Yeah,
So
confirmed.
that's the cross section there.
Yep.
And it was operated for about 7 to 10 years. And it seems to be one of 3, the best example, but there are 2 other examples in Bangor right now. And Mike, you're welcome to hop in if you know anything about any of this.
well, I'm just saying the deco style, that streamlined style, as you say, you look at the building and it's got curved shapes to it. And the curved block windows, glass block windows, it's all characteristic and actually rather rare example, of this style of building. Reinforced concrete building.
So I always think of the glass bricks when I see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, so, but it's interesting to see, it was originally a Hasties stage building, so it was, and then it was a bus terminal or a bus repair place, so it's been through several iterations in its life.
It has.
Well, now it's the International Cryptozoology Museum.
It is.
Museum.
And those were the applicants this time. So I would just love to hear from you guys about your thoughts on local designation, because it is nationally designated. Just announcing that this is now on the National Registry.
If I could just say.
By all means, Mike.
Brian, is there a way that the commission can get ultimately a copy of the nomination, National Register nomination paperwork that will describe the features of the building?
Of course, yes.
I would think
have a-
that's public information by now, so if we could get that, I don't see any downside to not, to not having it designated locally. I think that may be a very smart move, because that probably offers the fullest amount of preservation protection for a building like this. It's encouraging to me to see somebody try to reuse a building like that. You wondered if it's going to have any future at all, or was it going to remain vacant and unused for whatever until it crumbled. So it's interesting to see it, I don't know if Bigfoot's going to show up for the opening or what, but you never know.
I presume that local designation is instigated by the owner of the building? Like they come to us and request the designation?
That's a good question. Do they have to be in, I'm sure this applicant would be in, or this individual owner would be in agreement, but do they have to agree to it, or?
I don't know, I mean, we'll work with them, obviously. I mean, he had done so much to
Yeah.
get this nomination on his own, so
Yeah.
we'll work with them to get the local designation.
I would, and I think that sends a message to him that he's done good work and that it's
Yeah.
respected, and local designation gives him a little bit better, offers a little bit better protection, for sure.
Rebecca, did you
Yeah.
want to weigh in?
Well, I just wanted to say, I mean, pretty much what Mike said, but this is one of my favorite Art Deco buildings in Bangor. I mean, it's been not loved well, but it's so rare in this part of the nation to have something like that. So, yeah, I definitely think it should be on the local registry.
Peter, while we're looking at the screen?
I absolutely agree.
Agreed.
Yeah, so the process for that would be, next time we meet, there would be a motion on a amendment to the code. And this would be number 37 of the landmarks.
Okay.
And then it goes to city council.
Yes,
Right.
So ideally, the national application would be in our packet for next time, and
Yep.
that would be part of our, yeah. Great.
perfect.
Item 3? 2 for you, 3 for us.
Yes, so I went to a virtual workshop on the discussion of substitute materials on historic building exteriors. And I'll give you a little taste because you guys can watch this video for free. We can send you that link. I'll start by just reminding you of 2 key points of the Historic Preservation Code of 148.9B. So in determining compliance with these standards, the commission shall be guided, although not bound by the guidelines for applying the Secretary of Interior standard for rehabilitation and the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. And also C, which is deteriorated architectural features should be repaired rather than replaced whenever possible. In the event that replacement is necessary, the new material should match the material being replaced in composition, design, texture, and finish. So just having that in your head about what we're currently doing right now in the city of Bangor. So it was a really good workshop. It was all about, I like to think of it as a state of the union in preservation. So NPS in 1988 first wrote their guide on preservation, and this was a huge overhaul of what was going on there. So it talked about some of the challenges people normally find in preservation, and these are challenges that are going to be very evident to you guys. These are challenges like unavailable of the historic materials, the unavailability of artisans, the inadequate durability of materials, and all those similar constraints that we see finding. Another one is economic feasibility. I know that's something we often see from applications. It is noteworthy, though, that economic feasibility shouldn't be the sole purpose, but it can be a contributing. So that's something also good to keep in mind when you're reviewing applications. So I would be more than happy to send you guys the link to this.
Please do.
Yeah.
So Brian, excuse me, did they issue a new preservation brief then?
Yes.
Number 16 was a redo of the old one?
Yes, I think it was 2017 and now the new one.
So to get to those, can we get those through the National Park Service?
Yep, they're just
Okay.
online.
Anybody can go to their website and download those. They're very helpful.
They like to, they call it in the meeting as a framework or a guide. They list some potential replacement materials, but they're really focused on having commissions know about solution-specific replacement. So that's acknowledging the fact that each application is its own application and being authentic to that own application. So,
So you mean somebody couldn't come in and say, well, gee, you let the previous application have the whatever, vinyl siding on their trim, and now you're not gonna let me, you know, so every application is fresh and new to the commission.
yeah, they really hammered down on the phrase solution-specific replacement. So,
Where was that, Brian? Where did you go to? Did you have to travel?
Virtually, but Virginia Beach. And the people who hosted that webinar are actually also hosting camp. If you guys want to come to camp, I know that our first 3 registrations are actually free. But on the 10th of May, the National Alliance Preservation Committee is putting together that all-day workshop in Portland, and the topics are legal basics, disaster adaptation, disaster recovery. And I know I sent you guys an email about this, and you guys are more than welcome. We would provide a car for carpooling or cover mileage costs, or anything of that. And as a reminder, Anya wants everyone to know that at least one member has to attend to maintain our CLG status, but our chair is attending, which is good.
Nice.
Oh, good, thank you.
I have all that vacation time that doesn't get used, I might as well not work and do different work.
Great.
I will say, if you've ever been to these camp projects where they do a full day, they're amazingly beneficial.
Yeah.
So you are going to come away with a ton of stuff. Your head's going to be exploding. Because there is, and then they challenge, I've been at some where they actually challenge commissions to do a review and kind of show you, well, they watch and they let you do it. And they say, well, you know, you didn't ask this, or you could have done that, or good job on that, whatever. So it's really, really, really very valuable stuff. So any commission member, I would say, encourage to go to it if you can. Are you going to that, Brian?
I will be there.
So
There's
is
2
it?
people in the car. 3?
There,
You coming?
Maybe. What day of the week is it?
It's a Friday.
Friday.
Possibly.
Settle up, Rebecca.
What time is it at?
All day, 9 to 6 in Portland.
In Portland.
You don't have to tell me right now. You can get back to me another time. Just wanted to keep that on your radar, refresh that in your inbox.
Is it going to be in the mechanics hall? Is that what they said? Or,
I think it's at the library.
oh, the library, you're right. Yeah, okay. That's
So-
cool too.
Yeah, Bangor sponsored it once, a few years
Yes,
back, like
yeah.
2017?
Up at Wellman Commons, is that
Yeah.
where they did it? That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very, very good. Yeah.
So
So-
Brian, excuse me, Mike.
No,
I didn't
just-
mean to.
You would love it, Anne Marie. You'd have fun.
Okay, but in answering that questionnaire you sent us, I don't know, I need a little help with that, to get that answered. I mean, I personally don't have all the information I need to go through that questionnaire. Is there some way I could get a little bit of help with that?
The registration?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can do that for you.
okay, maybe could you and I either do it over the phone, or I could come down here and spend a few minutes with you?
Of course.
Okay.
Give me a ring.
All
I'll
right,
sign you up. I think Sarah is actually
Yeah,
in charge of
she'll-
registering, but we'll get it set up.
all right,
Perfect.
okay.
So, in summation, Hazy's building has been added to the National Registry, and you should consider local designation if you're so inclined. And the State of the Union in Preservation has said solution-specific replacement. And then in May, it's time to camp.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
So we are now on the meeting minutes review for the March 14th meeting. Does anyone have anything they would like to comment on for those minutes?
I'd like to move that we accept them. I went through them pretty thoroughly.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay. Nate, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Anne Marie?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Liam?
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Mr. Keebler, just for fun.
Yes.
All right, the minutes are approved. And at that point, to borrow Liam's phrase, by the awesome power of the chair, our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.